So I'm going to give you a quick update about my side garden here. So this side garden was pretty much installed entirely this year. So these are mostly baby plants. This side yard was, it used to be lawn, and it had this big just like really defined area that was always dead. And coming down the street, people who live down our road, we come around this corner, and the first thing you saw was the great big patch of dead lawn. And for years I raked and I overseeded and I fertilized. And then one year I was just going to say, okay, I just need to dig this out and I'm going to put in fresh seed. But then I thought, well, if I have to dig it out and plant something, I don't want to be planting grass. So I planted a great big section of zinnias, and they did great. So that inspired me to kind of go all out and work on planting the garden of my dreams. And so I have a mulch path down for now. I don't think it's going to stay mulch, but I wanted to just have like a clearly defined area that is a walking path. And so I've got a bunch of zinnias and snapdragons down here. Those, I have 6 peonies that I planted as bare root this fall, and I wasn't expecting any blooms, but one of them did bloom beautifully, so that was a pleasant surprise. I have a whole lot of weeds going on in here. We had a really wild spring. It stayed cold, freezing. We were still getting temperatures down into the 30s overnight at the end of May. And I think that really let the weeds take over before a lot of the perennials had even woken up. So I do need to weed, but also I want to be installing more plants and ground cover as I weed, or else the weeds are just going to be coming back. Coming through here, these, I have 3 blue muffin viburnums, like 1, 2, 3, that the deer came through and totally destroyed. The deer ate the viburnum. It ate a brand new baby dogwood that was in full bloom, and a bunch of my hydrangeas, and coming out and seeing that in the morning was absolutely devastating, and a bunch of other stuff too. So, you know, it is what it is. I've tried some liquid fence deer repellent, which seems to have worked really well because there's a whole lot of new growth. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I guess, there were basically all the leaves were gone. And so it looks like the deer haven't been coming back to eat. A bunch of lavender here. More zinnias. Have a elderberry. And forgot what else I was going to say. So if we look up here, obviously this is right by the road. And originally I had put in several annuals, like petunias, things to kind of cover that area. But because our spring was so weird, they didn't freeze, but they got really, they almost died back, and they were really stunted. And I spent much of this past weekend weeding and pulling everything back. I replanted some of the lavender, and when I come around the other side, I'll show you that I put in some Monet Wigelas, and they planted them just as little quarts. Most of these were started as had some quart of these marshmallow daisies. We just came through like a massive heat wave, and then it stormed, so some things are looking pretty rough, but other things have bounced back so quickly. It makes me really happy. I wanted to fill this whole area in with daisies, but it's going to take a while for those perennials to be established, so I put in more zinnias, and it was just bare dirt. But then now it's been storming and grass started coming up, and the zinnia seedlings were so small I was afraid of trampling them. And so this is kind of a situation that I'm going to handle kind of at the end of the season, because I don't want to break any of these. They're going to be really beautiful. In through here, everything in through here is perennial. I've been picking up these really great, like 4-inch perennial pots at our local nursery. Well, actually, so there are some more zinnias in through here. I've been scattering zinnias throughout. But I have a lot of coneflower and gaura and Russian sage and some more daisies over there. And so it's going to be a while before these really fill out. So I'm going to be scattering some more seeds and putting in some ground cover to kind of keep the weeds at bay, because eventually I do want the plants touching, and they are going to grow rather quickly. You can see a whole bunch of my seeds have germinated, and it's going to be gorgeous. Oh, over here. Oops, sorry, we kind of zoomed in. These I started as I planted just this spring, but they were larger perennial pots. And I have a climbing rose coming up here. A lot of bee balm. So these I'm going to cut back because they were about ready to be cut back anyways, and then with the storm they look like they've literally melted. But I have 2 more bee balms here. There were 2 different varieties. I had 3 of each. So the first variety that had bloomed and then started to die back, I cut it back, and it's already coming back up. If you can see right here, they're definitely going to be blooming again, because you can see they already have some more buds coming. And so the salvia I'm going to be cutting back as well. I have cosmos, lots of cosmos in through here, cosmos and sunflowers and daisies. I have a few pugster butterfly bushes, 1, 2, 3, that I think I'm going to move, because in the center island I feel like it needs more height in the middle. And these helianthus, they're like false sunflowers. They are so pretty. I had never seen anything like this before. I came across them in the nursery. I bought 4 of them. They're just gorgeous. Like, if you look at the variegation on the leaves, I mean, that's just beautiful. They have these, I don't remember what they're called. They're some type of geranium, like Boom Chocolata, I think, geranium, and they are gorgeous. I love the really dark foliage. And lots of cosmos. The storm seemed to take a lot of petals off some of the cosmos, and others seem to be doing totally fine. And actually, I'm not even sure those were blooming yesterday, so maybe they just opened up today. I'm trying not to be too jerky with the camera. This is my first video, so I'm sorry if we're getting a little bit dizzy. Coming over here, I see there's another one of the helianthus. Coming through here. So this area is a little bit crazy. I had started to till this section. I want to do a wildflower field. So like the area that we were just in is more of, not formal, but like more organized. I still want it to be very cottagey. So that's just kind of sort of chaos, sort of cottagey. But this I wanted to be just basically a wildflower field. And I've tried the cardboard method for like killing off the grass and starting a new flower bed, but what we have is not actually grass. Like there's some grass, but most of it is like clover and ground ivy. And in the other flower bed, I was really successful in tilling the area, and it only goes a couple inches deep just to like rip out the grass, and then I'll let that kind of dry out some and then come back the next day or 2 days later, and I can rake everything up really easily and leave a lot of the soil behind. But what happened is the tiller broke, and like it overheated, it was burning and smoking, and it wasn't coming back. So I had this one section done, and I have zinnias in here. I don't think I put any cosmos over here, but I was also put down some coneflower and strawflower seeds just in this one section. And then I have plants over here that we're going to go on the back edge of this field, kind of like to define the space. And so I just kind of dug holes and I put them in the ground just temporarily, because they'll be happier, better off in the ground than they would in their nursery cans. So that looks a little bit crazy, but that's temporary. We affectionately call her Maggie the Magnolia, because she came up from Texas, and I'm not sure what kind of magnolia she is. It looked like she wasn't going to survive, because there were a couple different types of magnolia she could be, and I was just going off of her leaf structure and comparing it to what I could find online. And it seemed like it was a 50-50 chance whether it was going to survive in our zone or not survive. And so after the winter, I thought she was dead. She looked as dead could be. So I dug her up and I set her aside, and I didn't have the heart to get rid of her. And so she was sitting in a big replacement pot that the dogwood came in. And then like a week or two later, we realized that she was starting to bloom, and she hadn't been getting watered or anything. And this is the dogwood that we replaced her with. I have the tag somewhere. I don't remember what kind it is, but it was blooming and it was gorgeous. It was so pretty. And then the deer just demolished her. I mean, like I said, that was just heartbreaking. And so there's more to show you up front, and there's more along the side, that I'm going to just leave it at this for now. I'll just quickly kind of come through and show you what my next project is going to be. Well, here in the center island, I had talked about wanting to add more height, and I have 3 false indigos that are going to get pretty tall. to put in there, and it'll give me an opportunity to pull out some of those weeds, maybe move some of those plants a little bit closer together. So that should happen soon. I think a new tiller is arriving. We were able to get the other one replaced, and so then I'll be able to dig this up and get those seeds going. They're going to be predominantly perennials, so they're mostly not going to be flowering this season, but I want to give them as much time as possible to get their roots established before our winter, because we never know what winter's going to bring. Okay, down here I have a little bit more Russian sage and some of the cat's pajamas Nepeta. Some of these annuals are ones that I had up closer to the road, and then because the Nepeta was so small and it was getting really stunted by our cold weather, because they're new plants, they came from the nursery, they were already starting to bloom, and then I really should have kept them inside, but I went ahead and planted them because we were past our last frost date. So they're not going to be as large as I had hoped, so I was kind of just filling in the gaps. And so another job that I have scheduled for myself this weekend. Last weekend is when I planted the Monet Weigela, and I spent hours and hours and hours ripping out piece by piece all the weeds that were along the road. It was ridiculous. I had used the cardboard method, and that had killed whatever grass was there, but what we were left with was ivy working its way up and around the cardboard and through the mulch, and it was awful. It was so unsightly. So I ripped every shred, every piece of ivy out. I see a little bit popping up back there at the end, but it looks like I got nearly all of it. So I'm going to be putting down some topsoil to kind of level out a little bit more, because there's a dip, and that's one of the problems I had with the lawn here. And then I'm going to be direct sowing a lot of creeping thyme, and I think that'll be really pretty. And then to extend the creeping thyme from the road over into the garden, so it won't look as stark. And I said that's probably not going to be blooming this year, but then hopefully it'll be established enough so that we'll be able to see it in the spring. And okay, I guess that's all I have for now. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see if I can do some videos of some of the upcoming projects, and I want to continue to do these videos for myself, for accountability. And you know, we have those long hard winters, and I've found myself really wishing I had more garden pictures, and wishing that I had taken some videos of what the garden looked like at different times throughout the year. And I promised myself that I was going to do that this year, because I'm terrible at before and after pictures. There was a book that I listened to, audiobook, while I was painting over the winter. It's called The Overstory by Richard Powers. He says, when is the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. And then the next best time is today. So I probably should have started videoing and documenting the progress a couple years ago when I started getting into gardening and I started expanding some of our other flower beds, but at least I'm doing it now. And so thanks for stopping by.